Welcome back. Tonight, we're going to build a cool modern website using Claude Code Opus 4.6, Google Stitch, and we're going to host it on the back end using Firebase. So let's get started. The first thing that you're going to do is build your prompt out in Google Gemini and say, I want a modern website, whatever you want. I told it, use my colors from Jez Digital and build something kind of similar to it for a domain that I purchased called GoalPrise. Right? And we said it's going to be a SaaS-based software where corporations can track their goals and have everybody move in the same direction. So here it is. We went into Gemini, we posted it. We've got this great prompt here, right? We copied that over. And to save you guys time, I took the liberty of rerunning it. So what we started with was these two. Let me show you over here. I started with these two. I'm going to focus in here. Right click on it, choose focus. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so you guys at home can see. Right. And this is where I started. Looked pretty good. Right. I actually like this one. It's probably one of my favorites. And then we got that one. I'm not really into the purples and the light blue. It wasn't in my company theme. And what I did was I went down and I said, hey, give me some of this in a lighter mode, right, to see what it looks like. Right. So then we came down here and it built me 3 new landing pages. Okay. And I'll show you what my website looks like right now. And which I'm going to build this. I'm going to rebuild this one tomorrow. So you can see my colors are this orange and this blue, kind of like a nice little theme there. I've got to update it. So tomorrow I'm going to update this for you guys. So, but let's go back to Stitch. All right. So then it came up with all these. And for this exercise, we're going to build it just like this one. We're going to choose this one. This was my rank number 1. I'll show you what my 2 favorite was. This is 2. This is really close. If I try this kind of theme, this would be it. I like this. So, but for today's, example, let's go with this one. So what you're going to do is you're going to go in here. You're going to select it, choose the arrow first here. All right. And then what you're going to do is you can go into the more, and we're going to export this thing. We're going to download it, right? Or export would have worked. It's going to bring it in as a zip file. Inside that's going to be a PNG file, which we're going to use. I want to talk a little bit about buying your domain. So to get started with building your own website, you're going to first need to buy a domain. I use Squarespace only because they got bought out by Google. I was with Google. Another really good one, probably the most affordable one. If I had to start today, I'd probably utilize Cloudflare. It's the cheapest. It's like $10.50 a year or something for Cloudflare. And basically all it's going to look like is this, and you're going to go in there and it's going to have DNS settings for you, right? And you'll go into the DNS settings, follow the instructions in the Firebase console, which we'll be getting into here, right? So here's a test website. Let me show you this, show you what we're going to get into here. You're going to go into hosting. And right down here, add custom domain. That's going to tie this in, right, for you, right there. So here's an example of what it looks like. That's a hosted one right on Firebase. So by the time we're all said and done, we're going to do something like this and host it on Firebase. Okay, so stay tuned. I know a lot of people skip ahead on my videos, which is great. I love it. I love that you guys tune in to me. Everybody kind of skips ahead and gets what you need. That's how I search. I mean, I need to put back to back chapters together. So you're like, I'm staying for Stan's stuff because all the chapters are good. So, but I get it. So tonight we're going to focus on giving you guys premium chapter after chapter after chapter. So we get everybody to stay. But anyhow, this is what we're going to do. We're going to host something on Firebase at the very end, and we're going to push it back up and it's going to give us like a TXT file and stuff to tell us to put this into our DNS. So we're going to do that. We're going to follow those instructions along, but let's get started. Okay. So let's go back to Stitch. Okay. We did a download. So let's minimize this a little bit. Let's go into our Finder. Okay. Go to our downloads and it's right there. Okay. Let's get this Stitch 1. Let's copy this out. There's probably got to be better ways to do this. Somebody asked like why I go the long way. And honestly, it's because I don't have time to learn all the new ways. So If I go the long way, it's an accident. Okay. So, I mean, I'm working like 16 hours a day. Those books, like 4 hour work week, blah, 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 those are all lies. If you want to make it in this world, you gotta work some 16-hour days or 12-hour days. So, so let's get back here. So that's just copying the PNG file out there, right? So we're going to copy that in. We're going to tell Opus, hey, I want to build something like this, but we got to give it a directory to work in. So let's go out to Finder. I'm already in Finder. Okay, let's go to my studio projects here. And we're going to put this inside test. And we're just going to open up test. Make this a little bigger. All right, so we're going to do new folder. And we are just going to call this test. All right. What do we call this? GoalPrise. Okay, so we're just going to build something in there. The next thing that we got to do is now we got to go back into Gemini and we're going to tell it to build us a prompt to utilize Claude Opus 4.6 and tell it on the back end, we're going to use, let's copy that over. On the back end, we're going to use Firebase hosting, right? So let's go in here. I'm going to use my own software. I like this talk type better. This is something I wrote. Okay, so let's write a prompt here. I wrote a video on this dictate. If anybody wants to know how to write your own dictation software, this is what I did. Write a prompt for Claude Opus 4.6 and tell it to use the image that we're going to provide. And we want it to build us a website. And that website's going to be hosted on Google Firebase hosting. We'll build a project for it on the back end. And basically, we want it to look like the landing page that we're providing. And we want the sub pages, any menu pages. We want it the same style and kind of color structure of that. And tell it to ask us any questions that it may have before it builds it. Okay, there we go. It's transcribing what I said. All right, so now it's already copied, by the way, out there. This is a cool little thing I made. I call it talk type. I got tired of paying $15 a month. You can build these yourself. If you get a Mac, it's pretty easy. Just used Flutter, Claude Opus, and it was pretty awesome. Okay, write a prompt for Claude Opus. Right, there we go. There we go. We loaded up that PNG file. All right, it's thinking. Oh, by the way, down here, you want to make sure you're in the thinking mode, not the default, which is like the fast, right? It's just not that good, right? There we go. Claude Opus, roll. Okay. All right, there we go. So let's see how we do here. Let's see how it looks. All right. Okay, so let's start in here. Oh, too far. Prompt. Okay, right up here. Thing I don't like about Gemini, when you use the copy button, it copies all this stuff in like extra dashes and stuff. And there's just not a great way to copy inside Gemini. Hopefully they get that fixed soon. Okay, so there we did our copy, and now we're ready to start opening up some prompts here. And so inside terminal, what we're going to do is we're going to exit this. This is one I've already been in. Okay. All right. Exit this one. Okay, that's a Firebase prompt. We're in there. All right. Okay, all we're going to do is open up our terminal, and I've already set this up to work in Claude Code. Now we're going to go find our directory here. So that was under test, right? And then ls is list. And so it was change directory, and we called it test GoalPrise. All right. There we go. Now, some of these little shortcuts, I'm going to give it this shortcut here in my templates back in that. I use this Claude dangerously skip permissions because this is just a test and I don't care. I just want to go fast. So we're going to tell it this. We're going to go into Claude in this directory. Okay. Okay. We haven't added our prompt yet. We're going to add that screen.png file. Okay. And we're going to add that prompt that we created. So, oops, sorry about that. That was wrong thing. That's the other thing that we put in there. So now we go back to Gemini, right? Copy this again. Great. Go back to terminal. Okay, it's got the image. Now we do a control V. It copies those 32 lines. We told it to ask us some questions. So let's see what it asks us. Okay. Important directions, do not start building yet, and ask me a list of questions, yada, yada, yada. So it's in the directory. It's going to build the structure for us. Okay. And it's going to know, it should know what structure to use because we're telling it we're using Firebase hosting. So in particular, it should know the style that we want it to be built in, but we'll see if it does that. Okay. Oh, it's got lots of questions. Jeez and Pete. There we go. It's got all of our answers there. And there we go. Voila, we're building it. Okay, so let's talk about the next steps that we're going to be going through here while that builds it, because that'll take a little while. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into Firebase while this builds, because I told it not to ask us any questions. So hopefully it just starts going through it itself, right, and starts building everything for us. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go here into Firebase and we're going to start building our project. So we're going to create a new Firebase project, right? I'm going to close this and talk type. All right, we're just going to do test GoalPrise, right? I always start my stuff out with test or prod. That way you don't want to delete prod. That way I group all my prods together. I got all my tests together. I'm getting big enough now. I probably just need to get 2 different servers for test. I need my own test server. Okay, so here we are, test GoalPrise. We're going to put it under my Jazz Digital umbrella. We're going to go down here and uncheck this, right? We're going to do the create project. So while we're building the other stuff, we're going to go into Firebase. So Firebase is awesome for those of you that don't know about it. If you followed me for any amount of time, you know I love Firebase. It's gotten so much better over the past year. It's fabulous, right? You can use it for authentication. So you can say, I'm going to use a Google login, a Microsoft login, a Facebook login, whatever you'd like. You can use it for storage, right? You store your PDFs, your videos out there. You can use it for 3 different types of databases, right? You got the most popular is the Firestore, which is the NoSQL database. That's more for like if you're building like your own version of Facebook, social media type thing, right? It's just very quick, just pretty straightforward, kind of a flat sequence on that. And then it's got a thing called Data Connect, which ties into the Google Cloud, where I use a database called Postgres, and which is a relational database, right? That's like your CRMs, your SaaSes, right? Like Salesforce, right? Where you got a traditional contacts, companies, leads, campaigns, and you build these things called queries, and it utilizes joins, inner joins, outer joins, every kind of query that you can imagine. And it's built for massive amounts of data. So, and sometimes you do a hybrid of the two, right? And then there's also a third one that is called real-time database. I personally don't ever use that one. I only use the other two. But we're going to use a thing called hosting tonight. So I'm going to show you how that works. Learn Firebase. It's fabulous. So it's a backend as a service, and it's mostly free if you've got the Google Workspace account, I think. And the limits that it gives you are pretty amazing, right? It doesn't really start charging you till it gets really big. Like a Postgres database, if you got to go out there and buy one of those, you're really buying the server space, and it's only like $11 a month to start with. But all the records are pretty much free. And then you get your backups and everything else using snapshots. And if you're like, I want to back it up 3 times a day, you just do 3 snapshots a day. It's fabulous. It's great. But let's get into this and we're going to choose hosting here. Okay. It's going to give us a screen. We're going to click get started, right? Okay. So some of this I'm going to actually have to hide from you guys because it's going to show you a key. And I've already installed these tools. But at this point, when we come back, this will all be done. And all you're going to do is go through this. And let me explain what you're going to do. You're going to open a new terminal, right? You're going to do a new window, and you are going to go to that other directory that we were in. And so you can kind of do this in parallel while the other project's building it, right? We're going to do change directory, and we're going to do test. And then I think we called it test GoalPrise, right? So then we're going to do change directory, test GoalPrise, right? Okay, and now this one, we're going to utilize this terminal for our Firebase, right? And so you follow these instructions, and it's going to start building that directory out, but it knows you're going to use Firebase. So it'll do everything for you. And then what's cool is you're going to tell this, the other one, right? Oh, it's been asking us a question. Okay, you're going to use this one as kind of like the brains behind the situation, right? You're going to use this one and say, hey, I've got this other terminal up at the same time. It's where I'm going to run Firebase hosting, right? And should I ask this question here or there, right? And it's going to say, okay, we're going to have you build it over here, right? It's called a build, right? So anytime you do a build, make any changes to it, at the very end, you do a build, and then you go look at your local host. It'll tell you to run a build over here, and then you look at localhost. So that's the process that we're going to go through here. So let's see what question this is asking us here. Claude has written up a plan ready to execute. Yes. Okay, clear context and bypass permissions. Yep. So we're going to not have it ask us 15 gazillion questions because this is just a test, right? And we're going to let it build itself out and see how it does. Okay. And then now back over here, one thing that you're going to have to do too, a lot of times, if you get bugs, there's like a Firebase -- reauth command. I think it's that, right? I'm pretty sure. Oh, nope, it's not. I'll look that up. So I think we got to do, maybe it's Firebase init first. Is that what we got to do? There it is. Okay, so here we go. So this is Firebase initiate, right? And a lot of times it's going to tell you need to re-authenticate. Like if we go down here, and what we're going to do is hosting. So you go down, hit select the hosting, hit the space bar. See how that highlighted that? And all we're going to do is go into here, hit enter. We're going to use an existing project. We could have created a new project in it, but I'm going to do this. So when we come back, I'm going to go through this wizard. What you'll do when you guys are doing it, you'll go through this and follow these instructions. Like I don't have to do this, install Firebase tools. You only have to do this the first time. The -G stands for global. So it works through all your directories in case you're curious what that meant. But what you'll do is you'll do this. And when you go down through here, there's going to be one in here that gives it a key. And so when we come back, I'm going to have this all done. The project, the base project will be set up. We'll go back in terminal then and show you what to do next. Like we'll tie it to a GitHub repository and we'll go through all that. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. We went through the Firebase wizard. We've got everything installed here. Here's the default. Now we just got to go back to our two prompts. And what we're going to look at is this is already complete. So right now it's just running on localhost 3001, and we've got the Firebase. It's ready to ask us some more questions. But first, let's go take a look at localhost and see where we're at. So, hey, looks pretty good for the first run, right? So we're right here. It's got the cookies. We accept. It had to change this graphic from what we originally intended it to be because it didn't have it, right? So this is just a filler anyhow, so we didn't care, right? And we've got track goals, achieve more. GoalPrise helps individuals, teams set, track, and accomplish their most important goals with smart analytics and beautiful dashboards. Awesome. This, quite honestly, wow, what a start, if you ask me. You know, this is pretty impressive, right? So all we do is come up here, switch out the logo, right? We've got a features page, right? We can make this maybe flip-flop around here, maybe do a little bit of work on the bottom here, the contact us, you know, but overall, this doesn't look bad. It's got the placeholders here, start the free trial. Check that out. Not too bad. Pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. So now what we're going to do is we're going to utilize Firebase and we're going to push this up to Firebase and we're going to host it up there. And we'll show you that. Okay, so let's scroll down here. I'm curious if it did like anything like a blog. It didn't do a blog page. It didn't do, it did the feature. Well, the features is up here. So basically all it did was the 3 menu items. Let's see down here. It probably didn't add terms or anything like that, but we could just go back and say, hey, add some of the default stuff in here, right? Like the contact us. There's no about us page, but no big deal. This, we're like 90% of the way there. This is so much better than it was just 1 year ago, right? A year ago they were trash. I used V0. V0 did great for about 6 months ago, and now you can basically do everything you can do in V0 right here. So this is pretty cool. Build everything out. Okay, so let's minimize this. All right, let's minimize that, and we'll go back in and answer some of our Firebase questions. Okay, so now we're going to be on this terminal, right? So what we're going to do here is we've got to do a build, right? And so this gets to the point where we're pushing it back on the server. Okay, so we're going to answer this. We're going to say use an existing project, right? And this is going to ask us what project do we want, and this is pretty important. Make sure you pick the right one, right? And make sure you're working in the right directory as well. Okay. All right, so it's test GoalPrise. That's correct. Public is fine with me. That's the default on that one. So it's asking us, like, what do you want for your public directory? This is where you store a lot of stuff like your images and things like that, right? Configure a single page. No, we don't want, the default for this is yes, right? We don't want this. We want to tell it no on that one. So make sure you get that right. That basically said, I don't know if you can see that at home. It says configure as a single page app, rewrite all URLs to index.html. I don't know why that one's default to yes. I can't imagine too many people want to do that. Okay. Let's see. Set up automatic builds. This we actually want to set up yes. I haven't done this through this, just in test, but let's go ahead and set this up in GitHub, and we're going to authorize Firebase. Okay, so let me explain GitHub, because this is super important. I do other videos on versioning and no one watches, so I'm going to get your guys' attention this time. So maybe everybody knows how to version, but what we do with versioning is we push stuff up to GitHub, we commit, right? But what you do is you check stuff out. So if you're on a team and there's, let's say, 5 developers, right? You go, I'm working on the main page, right? I go out there, I get the home page, I check it out. So my friend Bill over here, he wants to make a change. He goes out there, he's like, oh, it's checked out by Stan. He calls me up, he's like, hey, Stan, can you check that back in? I go check it in. It's a great way to communicate between people, right? But once you save it, that's a new version. To us, it is, at least. So you start out with version 1, then you go to version 2, version 3, so forth. And it's awesome because sometimes you'll be on like version 19, and there was a bug in version 19. There's also a bug in version 18. So you go all the way back to version 17, and you go back to your original code from 17, right? And there it is. And by the way, think of this as just backing up and restoring your code. This has nothing to do with databases. Those are more backups and snapshots. And, so we'll get to that in future future videos. So this is just your code, but it's awesome. So I recommend everybody go take a class on versioning and GitHub. I can't say enough good things about it, right? Okay, so here we go. Firebase CLI, yes. Wants to use that account, yes. Personal user data. Repositories, public and private, that's correct. I want to authorize Firebase. Okay. I'm going to have to verify via email, right? So it's going to email me this to verify. I'm going to do this verification, come right back. Okay, I'm back, and as you can see, it successfully says here, Firebase CLI, which stands for Command Line Interface, GitHub logon successful. Okay, so now we're in back here. Right there we go. Success. Logged on to GitHub as Judgen. Okay, so now it's asking me which repository, right? For which repository would you like to set up a GitHub workflow, right? Format. Let's see here. Okay, so. All right. We're going to go back in here. We're going to create a new repository and see if it'll work right here. So I'm just going to take you back into GitHub, and all I'm doing here is just creating a repository. And that's, you can just go into GitHub and choose new, and it'll ask you, we're going to do one called test GoalPrise, right? I made it private. I'll get rid of it. There we go. And so now we go back to that. And so that was user, which was Esjesion, right? Repository was test GoalPrise, right? So let's see if this works. There we go. There we go. That looks good. Oh, it says it doesn't exist. Okay, so. All right. Service accounts, GitHub action. Okay, so, all right. I'm going to figure this bug out. Okay, I'm back. That was quite the rabbit hole right there. What it was basically, it didn't like the security access that I gave it. So it had me create a service account. And even then, it didn't like me as an administrator giving myself admin accounts. So then it was this long rabbit hole. And at the end of the day, I'm just going to use versioning on the Firebase itself anyhow. And I will do a different style of versioning. I'll just use desktop GitHub, which is another way to do it. So for this exercise, we're just going to finish it up. We're going to go through this Firebase init again. So to reinitialize that, I just typed in the Firebase init command. Once again, you do the space to choose hosting. Okay. We're going to choose the default, which is that directory. And once again, this index is no, right? And GitHub, we're going to say no, so I don't waste another hour, right? There you go. And there it goes, finalized. Looks like it's done. Put it all out there. Okay, so now we should do, then you come back over here and we just say, what's the build command? Right, so let's look at that for Firebase. Oh, okay. So it's going to fix something. I told you guys wrong. So just in case, I use Next.js. So instead of public, it uses out. I was not aware of that. So that's good to catch. So glad we saw that. So here's another thing. My debugger, ironically, I'm setting up two CLIs here. One is the Firebase CLI. It has to be running in its own. And the other is the Claude Code Opus 4.6, right? All right. So, and I ask all the questions to Claude Code Opus. When I was going through that problems that I was having with GitHub, it basically walked me through everything. It had me create an initial service account. I did that. And then it blocked that service account from creating keys. So then we went back into another Google administration account. And I was going back and forth with the Opus 4.6 CLI. So it's awesome. It's my go-to now for asking questions. It's great. The huge difference between 4.6 and 4.5, let me tell you. So once again, I shouldn't have chose the default of public. I should have switched that to out because we're using next.js. So, all right, so here we go. Firebase, now paste this into your terminal. Okay, so let's paste that command. All right, so this is going to get pasted back into the Firebase terminal, and we're going to do a build here. So what you do also, if I make changes, I want to change this text, right? You change that in Opus, right? But then you got to go back to the Firebase and do a rebuild. Okay, so you're making your changes in Opus, command line interface, but you're always rebuilding it. Okay, deploy complete. Okay, so now we should be able to see it here. Hey, look at that. There we go. Pretty nice, right? And so, but what I was talking about earlier is, let's say we want to change this to track goals and no period right here, right? Track goals, achieve more, right? So we just go back and we can probably do this with just an image. We'll do this with an image. I'll do a shift command 4, right? And I'll say, let's copy this out. Okay, this is done. Okay, now let me explain this. I think this is pretty important. I want you guys to be able to get it at home. Okay, so in Claude right here, I got these changes, right? I want to take the period off that main page. Okay, so I say, take the period off track goals and achieve more, right? On the main page, right? Image attached. So it's going to make the change here. And I want to explain this to you. We're going to show you this on localhost versus right here to test GoalPrise. And we still got more to go. So don't leave the channel yet. We got some cool stuff on PageSpeed. So PageSpeed's coming up, and that's important. Trust me. You want fast page speed. So that's named after Larry Page from Google, by the way, a little history lesson there. Okay, so I'm going to say, show it to me in localhost. Well, I think we probably got localhost up here, don't we? All right, so let's go to GoalPrise, right? There it goes. So see how this is taking the periods off, because this is running on my local directory. This is running on my C drive, right? Now let's go minimize that, right? Oh, let's minimize that, right? And now let's look at this. When I refresh it here, because I haven't rebuilt it, the dots are still there. The periods are still there. Now, okay, so now if you look at what it told us, it said go run this, right? So we say, okay, we're going to do a rebuild, and watch this. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, now it's going to rebuild that. Okay, it's deploying it to Firebase, right? Check this out. Okay, so it says it's done. Now watch this. Now the web app, we refresh it, periods are gone, right? Isn't that simple? That's awesome. So I want to make sure you guys got that. Okay, so let's go back here. So again, the CLI, to change edit any of this stuff now, we just do it in Claude Opus. Isn't that great? It's fabulous. I want to show you one more thing. I think it's awesome. And so here, actually, I'm going to show you a couple more things. I'm a liar. We're going to copy this out, whatever page this is on. And okay, and then let me show you something here too, by the way. Okay, so here is the active one, right? This is the one. This is our last build right here. Remember that we did the build, right? That was the first build we did. And this is the current build, right? So there's no changes here, but look at this. I can roll back, I can delete. So this is version in itself. So part of the reason it's like, you already got version control inside of it, right? We don't necessarily, it's probably overkill going with all these version controls, but these are basically just snapshots of what it looks like. And you can do a rollback right here. So watch this. I do a rollback. Okay. And I successfully rolled it back. Now, watch this. We go back over here. Where was that at? GoalPrise, right? We go back over here. We did the rollback. Periods are back, right? See that? Isn't that cool? That's version control for you right there. So, and then it didn't delete the last one. So now we're like, no, I didn't do that on purpose. I want it rollback. Right? Now we got 4 versions, right? Now we go check it out. Run it again. Periods are gone. So that's cool, right? You guys don't understand. I spent years doing this stuff. I've been programming since the VIC-20 in 1983. I tell that story all the time. I love it. That's what, 43 years almost I've been programming. This is like incredible, right? 10-year-old Stan Jesnowski, all I had was Compute Magazine, right? Just keying in basically syntax. So this version control, outstanding. Okay, now, before you guys go, I want to show you one more thing. It's awesome. Okay, so now we take this, all right, we run it over here. We want to run PageSpeed Insights. What is PageSpeed Insights, you might ask? This is a game changer. Let me tell you why. What this does is Google ranks you not only like everything in your like sitemap.xml. You want to add that, by the way. But also like things like speed, right? So the hosting that we're throwing it out to is really fast, right? Look at this speed. This tells us we're really performing, but as you make changes to your website, like as you add the Facebook pixel and stuff like that, it's going to slow you down, right? and you want to make sure that it doesn't slow you down too much, because you'll rank lower on Google if it slows you down. So this is called PageSpeed. It's pagespeed.web.dev, right? And it was created by Larry Page from Google. And it's one of the things that makes Google great. It's because they don't want slow websites slowing down the traffic. So if it's you versus another person, right? You got all the same backlinks, everything else, they're going to pick the faster website, right? And you also don't want a slow experience for your customers. So that's the other thing. But anyhow, so here we go. We've got this. And now all we have to do left is to add custom domain, right? And in here, we're going to choose domain. I forgot. Let's just a second. I'm going to be right back. I got to tell it what I'm going to do, and then it's going to give me the exact prompt that I'm going to have to do. So what we're going to do right here is we're going to tell it, basically, I'm at Squarespace. I need a text file, and we're going to look at that real quick. Okay, I was right, folks. It is add custom record here. We're just going to go in here, and we're going to add GoalPrise, right? The name of our domain. Click next. And there we go. Ignore the stuff up there. Okay, so it's going to have us add this right here. So we're going to go add an A record and a text record, okay? Some of this stuff, it's going to have a TTL on it, which is called time to live. So there's some things that are not going to be able to do to verify that we own it for this video. So we go into custom records here, choose add record, and the host is @, okay? And you go to type A, right? Here's TTL. This is for time to live. I normally lower that pretty low. I really don't. A lot of people like it up to 4 hours, but so we add that first A record. Now we're going to add the text record that it mentioned here. All right, right here. Okay, copy to clipboard. And then all you're going to do is go add record. Okay, and this is @ again. The type is a text, TXT, right? And we copy that in from the clipboard. We choose save. All right, and the next thing that's going to do is it's going to give us some instructions, like it's going to verify ownership. So it's going to dump some stuff in there, and it's going to make us verify that we own it, right? So remove the records below in your DNS provider to verify you own GoalPrise. So it's trying to make sure that we're not some sort of hacker or anything like that. But for us to do that, it's going to take several hours to get out there. So this is something you're going to have to just set your timer, maybe 4 hours, maybe up to a day. But normally it's just based off your TTL. You'll see it out there later. So, but that's it. And then you choose verify. And then from there, it'll probably ask you to do another one, which is like the www.goalprize.com. So all you got to do is keep going back and forth with it. When you're done, what I would do is just highlight it all, do a snippet, copy it back inside terminal into the CLI and say, hey, verify this for me, make sure I did everything correctly. And it'll say yes or no, and it'll tell you what to change. It's awesome. So anyhow, that's where we are tonight. Thanks for joining us. That was a deep dive into this, building websites. It's pretty awesome. I really like it. I like Firebase. I love Opus 4.6. I can't say enough good things about it. And, Opus 4.6 combined with Google Stitch is just amazing. So, all right, thanks. And we'll see everybody tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye. Good night.